All right, here we go.
I knew it.
You can leave your sheets up there. Leave them on the wall.
So few prepared to repeat this. It's okay.
No, but I'm going to send her over there. Yeah, then you don't have to move it. Yeah, then you don't have to move it. Yeah. I've done this once or twice. What time does she have to leave? 2:45? Okay. No, Mom. I have faith in you. All right. I will do it out of order, but I'm not going to do four first. Because there was a little bit of a method to our madness, right there.
That was great.
So
It's good. It's a great comment.
let's try and get through. We'll see. Okay. Let me call up group one, internal communication. Who wants to go? You going to go?
Would you like some Skittles?
Who's here?
No, because I'll just eat them.
Oh, you come up here.
That's the purpose.
Yeah.
Let me, while he's walking, good process, good conversations? Yes?
Yes.
Could you have used more time?
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, shrinking violets. Think about that in this exercise as you start to think about how to treat your mission meetings going forward. Just really, sometimes breaking a group up a little bit and then reporting out. Just a good way to get more people engaged. You're on.
He needs to speak into the mic.
Yes, he does. Okay. Here you go. Here.
Okay, pardon my bad. So we talked about a couple of different things, one of which is the challenge with commissioner engagement, time commitment, and committee work. The large volumes of emails and responsive time. And it's really important to make sure that we're accountable to ourselves and our colleagues by being prepared and committed to work on the various committees that we've been assigned to. The other issue that we talked about is, that I thought was important as well, in fact our group did, is levels of authority and autonomy, trust in the committee recommendations and decisions. Sometimes there's misalignment in decisions, and it might send the wrong message to grantees. There's an example that came up for a committee that I'm on, and so we thought that that was important, whereby a decision was made by the committee, but it was brought back to the full commission, and it got kicked down the road. So that's key. We talked about revisiting roles. Should every commissioner give input on every decision? Again, clarity and authority. If authority is delegated, then elevate policy level issues. So that's important. Consolidated attachment of materials instead of linking to the state law website, having to click on each one. And an important thing that we talked about as well was the preparation. So staff spent a lot of time sending out information beforehand for us to be prepared, and a lot of time gets wasted or put into reviewing information again beforehand. So if we're all prepared, we can move forth and focus on other issues and not have to come to the end of a meeting and push things back even further. Those are all
Can I ask a question or make a comment? One thing you said triggered a thought about being prepared and reading the memos and stuff. Could we make the memos shorter?
Happily.
No, seriously. I mean, I think there's an awful lot of background and statutes and stuff that we've all, that we kind of regurgitate a lot. We just kind of get to the bottom line here, what the issue is and what the recommendation is.
I'll make one comment on that, and I think this is something Steph has worked on, and I think will continue to do so, is talking about sort of having executive summaries kind of up top, right, with sort of the recommendation. I think there's been a lot more effort on that, and I think a lot of times there's a lot of background material so that folks, if you want to go look at the statute or the regulations, you have it. But that's a great point, and I think executive summaries, I have to do it in my day job of one paragraph or less, shouldn't spill onto the second page. So But yeah, great point. And I see that it's the chair's role to inform members to come prepared, so I will inform you all to please come prepared, and I will try my best to continue to do that. If you have questions on how to prepare, let me know. Thank you.
So I think this group did a great job. I want you to know we're going to obviously copy and track all of the recommendations, but thank you. Well done. So I am thinking I may take things out of order because Catherine's got to go at 2:45. So are you ready, or you still writing your report? And remind us what your topic was.
Our topic was grant making procedures. And so the two primary discussions we had, one was about sort of the issues related to compliance that bubble up in the current structure from different places. And we had two possible approaches to addressing those issues. One would be to say, if you're going to continue with multiple committees that are responsible for compliance. So examples are the HP grant.
Okay.
I think Efrain was in charge of those, and I do eligibility and budget. And we both separately identified different problems with a particular grantee, but we didn't really know what the other committee was doing. So you could expand your executive committee to include committee chairs and vest the executive committee with the authority to then act on behalf of the commission to resolve compliance issues. So that's one strategy.
Yep.
The other strategy would be to change in some way the role of the eligibility and budget review and rename it, but to have that committee be responsible for compliance generally. So like in that case, HP committee would decide who's eligible, but at the point that there was a concern about compliance, it would just go into some compliance committee. All grants would feed into that, and they would have the authority to do that. So that's a way to kind of streamline that part of it. And then the next part we talked about was what to do with discretionary grants, which are really a lot of work from the I think the staff perspective and the commission perspective. And we came up with kind of a rubric that would say the first time there's a discretionary grant on a particular topic, the commission or the executive committee, depending on the timing, would approve the RFP and the scoring rubric. But in subsequent grant cycles, the staff would have the authority to approve those, tweak those, et cetera, so that you're not taking up lots of time to build those extra steps in. I think we were recommending that when you're doing scoring of those, that you would identify what are sort of threshold questions about eligibility and have the staff make those decisions. And then when you're choosing between grantees, they're all eligible now, but you would then decide, you would still have commission members involved in doing that that scoring, and that's kind of where we ended.
Okay, very thoughtful. Well done. Did she miss anything? Any quick questions? Okay.
Yeah, I
well
didn't.
done.
Did I get through all your? I don't know, Judge. Did I get through all your notes? Judge Klein, we're good. All right, we had a great staff person. Did we miss anything? No, we're good.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you. Let me take your marker. And let me take your microphone. Perfect. And thank you so much. We'll take a picture of that. Don't worry. Okay, now we're going to go back to number 2, which is right here. Absolutely not. I saw. Oh, well.
We're doing external communications. We started off by trying to define the universe of what we meant by external, which we defined as everyone outside the committee. So that meant writ large, the legislature or the governor's office. It meant media. It meant directly to the public. It meant grantees and potential grantees. It meant lack and access to justice. And we had this kind of catch-all phrase of ecosystem partners and potential partners, meaning everyone along the entire process. So when people talked about talking to banks and what they can do with IOTA and interest rates, and talking to philanthropy and other types of people that are potential grantors, including grantees, so we can learn best practices. That all fell within the rubric of the external universe. When we talked about how can the commission be effective in engaging with these audiences, we talked both about process specifically, but also substance. So we were trying to indicate that it was important to message our commission's expertise and our impact in administering grants, recognizing the delicate nuance between us and the space that LAC has been allowed to fill in terms of advocating for additional money for particular grants and for particular legal aid and public interest. It talked about also the commission having to do some introspection about what is our role. Is our role to message and to advocate for additional money for specific grantees? Or is our role just to kind of trumpet our own expertise in terms of administering these grants and the effectiveness with which we've done it? Or both. We've talked about kind of the importance of communicating how great we've been about accountability and messaging. That's our role to the legislature branch and the governors, that we are about administering these funds and making sure that these funds are being spent responsibly and maintaining accountability. We also talked about the granular level of websites and talking about legislative meet and greets and what that communication looks like in terms of messaging our successes. In terms of if we feel like we're able to tell the commission story to external partners and audiences, I think broadly our answer was yes, but we thought that that message would be strengthened by having data, getting a sense of the universe of the data we already have, thinking about increasing the quality of the data, so that when we can tell that story, we're telling the story of what that means in real life. Looking to legal services, corporation communications as a model, program profiles. I mean, the idea of having us be able to tell individual legislators on the budget committee and say, you're from Kern County, Mr. Representative or Mr. Representative, this is what our funds fund in your county. This is how many people we've helped in your county. This is how many people have not lost their homes because of the work that we do. That requires a lot of data. It requires being able to get into and to have confidence in that data and to really drill down to who are we helping? What pilot programs are we creating? What things are we kind of creating into your community that can then be replicated throughout the state? So I think that there is a message to tell. Right now, I think we kind of felt like we're at the 30,000 foot level, but we'd like to get down into the details and the weeds of being able to tell those stories, because often getting down to the weeds for particular assemblymen and senators in particular counties is going to be most potent by being able to get into the weeds about what it means for their particular jurisdiction.
It's really well done, and I like the data and stories, and you can do that. You can do both. That's great. Thank you. Did you miss anything? Anyone in the group? And any quick? It was really good. It was very good. Okay, 3. Yes, I remember where you were. Here you go. Thank you.
Well, hello. There were 4 of us in the chat, person to person, Elizabeth, Jody, Eric, and myself, Vanetta. We all agreed that organizational structure is really important. One, because to be an effective commissioner, it's important to know every facet of the organization, from the general commission meetings to the committee meeting level, because that gives you a sense of both the theoretical framework and also the applied perspective. Having said that, the question becomes, how do we become more efficient? And so the thought was, overall, overarching is, commission meetings being involved for policy making and decision making. That's been coming up all day. But the way you do that is delegate to the committees in a way where committee members have more discretion to make decisions, and also the staff have more discretion to make decisions determined upon the committee's work. For example, if we have committee work being done, they're meeting several times during a projected period, we make decisions about operations, organization. It may be that we don't need to bring every item back to the broader commission. We only bring back those items that we elevate because there's some inconsistencies or concerns about overall impact. Otherwise, we work effectively, you write a report, it's forwarded to the commission for filing, you move on to the next project. What that also does is it gives the commissioners more time to be involved in other committee work. Organization is growing, but we also need more membership. And so if we can streamline operations at the committee level, we can be more efficient, and that frees us all up to do more fascinating, fabulous work.
Fascinating.
Our group was comprised of individuals, Eric, who's had, calling you the veteran if I can, a lot of experience. I've been on the board commission for about a year and a half, and then Jody is our newest member, and wonderful Elizabeth has been overseeing everything. But Jody could want to have exposure on the rules committee to find out what's the background, what's the general operations. Once she has it established, she might want to move on to other committees, say scholarship committee, right? For that additional kind of applied work, more specificity. She may have an interest in my interest, mental health. May want to be involved on care court. So it's kind of like a building block, a tiered approach for learning and professional development, but also it makes it more efficient and streamlining. I think the other thing is when we talked about streamlining, it's also about how we meet. We've been operating through Zoom, sometimes hybrid, and obviously this wonderful in-person experience. We think ideally, in-person works the best, you know, in terms of strategic planning and the dialogue that we've been doing today, but we know that logistically may not always be feasible. So maybe a hybrid, half meeting in San Francisco, half meeting in Los Angeles, having that hybrid approach. Also, giving us a chance to meet in smaller groups where you don't have the public, I guess, responsibility, expectation. It may give us more flexibility. So if we can streamline how we meet and what we discuss when we meet, it would be more efficient, effective, I think overall enhance our mission and value. So thank you to the team.
Well done. Thank you. All right, we've heard from 4, so where's 5? Oh, there you are. And you have what, a book over here? Yeah. Come on. Thank you.
Definitely, we're not modeling the executive summary approach, but like all things
It's okay.
in these processes, we're in development. Great. Well, I want to thank Judge Seligman, Eloina, and Rocio. We talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI. So the short of it is our questions were both current state, steps we're doing, things we're doing, and then what other steps looking forward could we do or look at. So in terms of current state, the headline was good, not great. So in terms of the good was there are certainly a lot of processes where we see within rubrics or in allocations and conversations committees have that DEI is at the center, that we're trying to be more diverse, equitable, and inclusive. And the inclusive part of including grantees, we see how in a lot of decision-making, we are allowing grantees to inform some of the considerations, all areas for more improvement as well. We also looked internally and structurally and made sure to identify and appreciate one, that the composition and makeup of the staff looks diverse, equitable, and at least more inclusive. That's not to say, and we're not making the assumption that it was intentional, but we're appreciating and saying that's an asset. Whether because of changes to commission structure, we felt that the commission is also looking like it's pursuing more diversity, equity, and inclusion, and sort of highlighting that as an asset as well. That said, the way to replicate it and sustain it, we feel, is the opportunities to go from good to great, which would be, we don't believe we have an established definition of what we mean by DEI. In what ways do we want to exercise it in terms of principles and values that we want to do? And the definitions are key, because as many of us who have done this work, diversity is not equity. Equity doesn't mean equal distribution. And inclusion does not necessarily just mean more communication, right? And so having those definitions are keys and areas for improvement as well. I think in terms of the future looking is we appreciated all of the data that's collected and it's helped us make some progress, but it was also unclear and think there's an area of opportunity in understanding how is the data that we're collecting helping to advance DEI? Is it the right data? Are we missing other data as well? The other is, we talked about technology earlier. If we'd apply the DEI lens, is in what ways would technologies help us achieve DEI? And then one thing I want to make sure, because Judge Seligman brought up this point that I missed, my apologies, is that in thinking about the work and looking forward is, what expectations are we putting on grantees? In other words, as in the eligibility process or other processes, are we looking at board diversity? Are we looking at leadership diversity? Yes, we're reaching more diverse communities and high-need communities, but are we asking the question of whether those organizations serving them look like them and reflect them, right? So that was an opportunity, a great point from the judge. Last few things that I'll look on the forward-looking and things to look at is being very intentional about DEI is not just at the community level, it's also at the organizational level, big versus small organizations. Does DEI mean also investing in the smallers that need more help and doing development work so that we could achieve equity and not just go find it in people who are ready and hope that you get the right spread you want? Looking at our processes, streamlining, which we've talked a lot about today. And then the other was back to the data piece in terms of steps we could be taking, which is, are we using diverse sources of data, or does our diversity, equity, and inclusion measure utilize just data from Department of Finance or state-issued data? Are we open and diverse in the data that is highlighting community needs, community reports, institute reports, all of these other more diverse sources of data, or are we only using one, which is a big question. And then the last point was in DEI and future steps we could take is considering and making it a priority to invest in robust staff development around DEI practice, DEI work. And that doesn't mean just a Cal Chamber training. It means true, deeper professional development investments, because it shouldn't be the commission pushing for DEI. We should also be developing internal champions that are living it and putting it into the work. So great generative conversation, lots of big ideas, and hopefully I did our great conversation justice. So.
Did he do okay? All right, just
All right.
checking.
Try to
Well
hit
done.
everybody's points.
Well done. No, you all did a very good job. It's very thoughtful. You tried to be inclusive. But boom. Okay, we're going to 6, which is back here with our chair. That's a short list, but there was a lot of conversations, so just want to acknowledge that.
Yeah, so my group was Jacqueline and Dwan and me. And yeah, it is true that I only wrote 2 things, but we had lots of big ideas, and I'm happy to share more of them. So the 2 things that we sort of wrote is, you know, and I think this is a consistent theme that's been coming across today, is as a commission, we think a way to maximize our impact is to be advocating more for both the legal aid community and I think this is a question that we sort of talked about a little bit in our group, is like also for indigent people who need services. Those are not exactly the same thing as we sort of envisioned, right? To what degree, I think we often focus a lot on the organizations that are our grantees and are obviously, you know, very much want to make sure that they have access to the resources they can, but, and this may be more of a question than an answer, but to what degree should we be also looking, you know, at policy legislation that impacts the indigent community more generally and their access to legal services? Should we be using our platform in an effort to support or advocate, you know, alongside the organizations that we support with our grants? And so that's one thing I wanted to raise and talk about. And of course, I think another consistent theme that we've had today is using our data to tell a story. I think being able to tell the story, to take these like massive amount of data and the amazing reports that I think the staff already does, but communicate it up to the commission so that we can also be very helpful advocates for ourselves, and also can take that, make it digestible, make it, back to external communications, having it on the website, right? Having us be a resource access. Sorry, those words didn't make sense altogether. Having us be a spot for resources for, other folks in the community to advocate, when there's funding, when there's different sources of funding. Other things we talked about is considering whether we ought to diversify the grantees that we, consider giving, like working with grants for. We use the IOLTA qualification under the IOLTA statute as a threshold for basically all of our grants. So that means that we are always consistently serving, the same population of grantees. And I don't know the answer to this, but we just wanted to sort of talk, we raised this issue of like, should we think about, is that mission creep? Is that not? Expanding that a little bit. But that was an issue that we sort of talked about and wanted to raise with you folks. And I also think some things that I've also thought about is, diversifying the sources of where our funding comes from. We worked with, federal agencies on like the homelessness prevention. And I think there's a lot of potential federal aid money that we could be, participating in and advocating for to go to the legal aid community, working with the Federal Access Commission and seeing, where there's opportunities there. Oh, you're doing my job for me. Thank you. So yes, so those are some of the topics that we had discussed on maximizing our impact, and of course, always open to hear more from folks, but thank you.
Thank you. All right. Well done. So we started a little late, but I'm going to try really hard to get us out on time because I'm a big believer in that. I know people have flights and other things. And so I'm going to condense sort of what was the last piece. What I'd wanted to do was to actually have you all go around and just do a hatch mark on sort of the better or best ideas you saw from each group. I am going to have you do that on the big ideas piece. But before I do that, I want to do a quick review of the day. And I want to go back to our expectations. And again, some of this is about, we did not expect to resolve everything, but I wanted to be sure that we check through what we feel like we talked about. So I'm going to go through really quickly. Where to go short term and long term? Did we talk about it? Yes. I can't wait. Commission, role of the commission and alignment. Did we talk about it? Clear direction and accountability. Did we talk about it? Okay, I'll give it a half. Did we really grapple with any hard issues, really? I mean, we were very respectful when we talked about stuff in really deep ways, but do you feel like we stretched ourselves some? Okay. Give me one.
One that I think Catherine raised is, we are a semi-autonomous commission, but our staff is the state bar, and so that relationship is one that we are continuing to navigate.
Okay.
And how do we do that in terms of our role within the state bar?
And the advocacy piece related to that.
Yeah, and in particular, the advocacy piece.
Okay. That might be a topic for a reformatted board meeting, and you spend some time on that. Just a thought, just a thought. Okay, get to know each other. I'm going to say yes, I think that went really well. And I'm even going to give us a check mark on increased connectivity, but I think you built a lot of good foundations today. Increased engagement and contribution by members. I heard a lot of that today. How to leverage our size and growth. Did we talk about that? Some? Yeah, I think so. Potential partners for sure. How we elevate the success of our programs. I heard that from a number of committees, but certainly from the external. How about individual and collective goals and expectations? That was either yours or yours. Of commissioners. Have you given some thought in this conversation to how you will contribute or should contribute as individuals? You getting there? Need some time on that. Innovation and technology, we talked about it a lot. I was going to tell you a story. I was with the counties, Association of Counties last night, and this goes to the DEI conversation. A county commissioner, county supervisor wrote a book using AI. But most of the figures in the photographs, which was also generated by AI, was very much biased. So leaders were always men. Women leaders were in navy blue suits. I mean, it was just, so be very mindful, to the point of the DEI group back there, about how much it can creep into your work. I just thought I'd add that as a side. Okay, address priorities around mission. We're going to get there. Alignment with stakeholders, we're going to get there. And did we lean into uncomfortable ideas a little bit? And then what's our intended impact? I heard that, community outreach, and a lot about PR. So again, this was not meant to be a to-do list as much as it was just to make sure we talked about some of the things that you said you wanted to be sure we covered. And I think you did a good job there. I'm going to have you probably do some closing comments, both of you, but I do really want to just get a sense. This is what I took down as big ideas. A mission statement for the commission. Survey recipients. Should there be a committee on evaluation and include the grantees? We talked about partnering with California foundations. That's probably a no-brainer. Convene philanthropy in a two-way conversation, sort of the what, the who, the how we do our work. I think that was some of your idea, this whole notion of a committee on infrastructure. Survey the ecosystem, which was also a good one. Define, explore our advocacy role. And I just went ahead and took the liberty of saying, should we have our own website or something, microsite? So stand up real fast, come up, you get one hash mark, you get one vote, not two, don't cheat, don't beg. Best idea that you've seen up there. Come on, hurry up, because we got to go. Come on, everybody. One, get one vote. Hand your marker over. Here you go. Hand your marker over. Got one? Good. Give it to Eric. There you go. Come on up, hurry up. Only one, I'm watching you. Yeah. Thank you. Watching you. There we go again. Thank you. I know. Okay. This is good. Okay. Did anybody have a strong number two and they were really frustrated about not being able to make a second choice? Anybody? Come up and vote again if you want. If you want to. Anybody who wants to come up and vote again. Okay. Okay, we believe in fair elections, so yes, ranked choice, that's right. Open primary. Are we good? Everybody who wanted to vote again, you're, oh, here. Anybody else want to vote again? Yeah. I was lying to you. Also a part of the method of my madness. Because what I want you to really do is I want you to first force what you really, really like. Because all this stuff is good ideas. Okay. So we've got some critical mass, which I like. I think, resounding support for a mission statement, resounding support for this committee or whatever we're supposed to call it on infrastructure, and certainly some commitment to this committee on evaluation. But a couple things. One, vote for website and this whole notion of defining and exploring the advocacy role. So I think you've got some stuff to work with. And I also should say, again, if we'd had the time, I would have had you go around and call out a couple of the good ideas that your smaller groups had, because there's some good stuff in here. We will be sure this is duplicated, that you've got it and it's duplicated and we do something with it. So with that, my work is done here. And I'm going to turn this over to the two of you in 1 second to give us some closing feedback, but I want to just get one word from each of you just to describe how the day and the experience went for you. Starting with you, Judge. One word. Helpful. Encouraging. Aspirational. Ooh, okay. Productive. Yes. Good. Okay. Berkeley. She said it was work. Okay, good. Okay. Aligned. Good. Excellent. Keep going. Oh, good, because we had that excitement thing up there. I'll check that off. Okay. Efficient. Good. Thank you. Good. Okay. Was it loving? Go ahead. Good. Good. Energizing. Informative. Energizing. Okay. Exciting. You get the last word. Yeah. All right. There you go. Okay. All right. That's good. That makes us feel good. So thank you. You all worked really, really well together. And we generally have an idea of how it's going to go, but you just never know. And you all really produced. So thank you so much for engaging as you did. And I'm looking forward to seeing good things come out of this. So I'll let the two of you close us out. You had 7 minutes.
So thank you. This is a really, really great day. A couple next seconds, I'll hand it over to Erica to close. So I probably shouldn't have used the word subcommittee because that has implications for Bagley. There was a working group, and I mentioned that was some of the people that were on these breakout sessions. So that working group is going to meet several times to kind of distill this information. We'd love your feedback if you're not on that working group. If you want to get involved, just drop us an email. We'd love feedback. We will probably come back to the commission at certain junctures. The end goal is in June that we will bring back a strategic plan for you all to vote on at the June meeting. But there will be many, many, many steps throughout the way. One thing that as a next step is we are going to be engaging external stakeholders on a survey, interviews to get feedback on, because I think that's critical, and I think that will drive some of the decisions that you all will make in terms of the direction of where this commission is going to go. We will share that with you, and again, we'll be sharing at a lot of junctures before we get to June.
Yeah. So a couple of things. First off, Dwan rightly corrected me. I said we were giving out 100 million this year. That's only IOLTA funds. We're actually giving out 200 million this year. So just want to make sure I didn't have our money going out the door. So I wanted to make sure. I also wanted to, she's not here, so she can't be too embarrassed and upset with me, but Erica Carroll had her baby today, and I wanted to make sure everyone knew that, and we send our congratulations to her. And hopefully that's an auspicious start to our, she had a baby on the same day as we're getting going on strategy. Yeah. I encouraged you all at the beginning of this to come in and be creative and be open and to give lots of feedback. And I really, really think you guys more than accomplish that goal. The ideas coming out of the breakout sessions, the feedback that we got during the survey responses, and our discussion of that is just amazing. I think there's going to be lots of opportunities for us to figure out what our next step is, chart our course going forward and figure out the role that we as a commission should play. And this, I think, is the role we should play, is doing this kind of policy work and thinking this through. So thank you all again for traveling. Oh, Judge Klein, yes. I don't currently have the stamp, but I will definitely get some information on that. And then we also, I think.
On the desk on the way out.
Yeah. Do you want to do like an invitation to go out after? Or do you want to- Yeah. I also, to the extent folks are not flying back immediately or need to leave, some of us are going to go. Dwan and I talked about going back to the hotel we stayed at, the Indigo, and it's a 5-minute walk from here. So if anyone wants to join us to socialize and continue the get to know you process, we'd love to get to chat with you guys. And no commission business, because obviously we don't want to violate Bagley-Keene. But it'd be great to socialize with folks. So thank you all.
Oh, and just another housekeeping note. If you all traveled here today and need help on your expense report, Kim is here. She's leaving in 5 minutes, so you can also email her questions. But please, we want to reimburse you for your travels, and so we can have Kim you're going to email it out, right? The expense report again.
I'd rather email it out.
You rather email? Okay, let's do that. Because she has a flight to catch. So she will email the expense report and then can help you if you have any questions. But please do get reimbursed for your travel.
Can I make another announcement? Yeah. We have cookies left over, so could you please eat them? Yeah, thank you, or to your kids or whatever. Thank you.